Hi, it's Mark Zehnal with IBHS and the FORTIFIED program. I want to talk a little bit about an asphalt shingle roof assembly. Now, when we talk about assemblies, that includes the roof deck. So from the roof deck to the top roof cover, that's what we're going to just discuss here really quick. So the first thing we look at in FORTIFIED is going to be the roof deck. So it's got to be a minimum 7/16, either OSB or plywood. You can also use hardwood if you're tearing off and that's already in place. We're going to require the deck to be re-nailed with 18 ring shank nails, 4 inches on center, vertically and horizontally. That's going to be documented from the top and from underneath, because we're going to make sure that those nails that are going through are actually going into the structural members. Once the deck has been re-nailed, we're going to look at how we're going to do what we call a sealed roof deck. So an SRD. We have details for all these things, by the way. So the tape needs to go over the top of the joints. There's a couple of different types of tape you can use. You can go to our standard to find that out. So vertically and horizontally, the tape's in place, so any water that gets on here does not go down into those gaps, because those gaps actually are like arteries. It's just the water will just pour in. So once the tape's in place, and this is our belt and suspenders type of installation, you've got to put an underlayment over the top of it, which will seal it up totally. And the fastening pattern needs to meet the FORTIFIED requirements, which is 6 inches on center on any overlaps, whether they're horizontal or vertical laps, and then 12 inches on center across the roof horizontally. If it's 36 inches or to 40 inches, it's got to be 2 rows. If it's over that, which would be a 48-inch roll, it's got to be 3 rows in between. Now, the other thing you can do is you can do what we call a 2-ply system, where you start with a half sheet and then go from there, so you have a double overlap going over the entire roof. That's going to be fastened 6 inches on center on any end lap or side lap. And then in between those laps, you're going to put 1 row 12 inches on center in between. You can do that with either the ASTM D226 Type 2, which is a felt, or you can do it with the 8257 synthetic products. The last one we can talk about is method would be the self-adhered over the entire deck. Now, one thing you got to be careful with the self-adhered product, you want to make sure it's going to stick, because you're not putting any fasteners in. So in some cases, you may have to use a primer. So follow the manufacturer's installation instructions for installing the self-adhered product. And you need to make sure that you consider the ventilation in the attic, because once you put this self-adhered to the deck, you now have a vapor barrier. So got to make sure you make adjustments for that. And that's up to the contractor. Each manufacturer has calculators that you can use to be able to figure that out. So once the underlayment's in place, we put the edge metal on top. Goes on top. In this case, it's a different method, but the underlayment is underneath the eave drip, nailed 4 inches on center. That holds the underlayment in place. It's also the anchor point for the asphalt shingle. So you're going to put the starter strip over primed metal. If it's a self-adhered starter strip, you put the direct over the top to the primed metal. Or you can use a standard starter strip, and you'd use roof cement wide enough to cover the entire starter. Once that's in place, you put your shingle roof on top. Now, because you have the metal down first, have it over the top of the underlayment, starter strip has that anchor point. It's a connection, and it helps hold it all in place. The other thing that I want to point out after the shingles are in place, as you'll see here, the ridge vent. Any type of ventilation for the attic needs to have a TAS 100A wind-driven rain certification. So in any case you have ventilation, it has to have that, whether it's a ridge vent, off-ridge vent, or some kind of turtle vent. Those are the things that we're looking for. So that's a FORTIFIED shingle assembly. You can do it.